Home medications, how to document medications by history. When opening to a patient's chart on the Orders tab, you could view any home medications that have been documented by clicking on the medication list on the menu or the second tabs on the Orders tab. Here you could view any home medications that have been documented, as well as look at the status bar to see if there's a green check mark with medication history. If that is not the case, you must click on the Document Med by History icon in order to document the status of the patient's home medication. If the patient has no known medications, or if you're unable to obtain that information at this time, simply click the corresponding box in the medication history options and click Document History. This will change your status bar to a green check mark for med history. If the patient does have a series of home medications to document, go ahead and click on Add and start adding your medications. The most efficient way of adding medications is adding all the medications one at a time without the details. For instance, if the patient's taking metformin 500 milligram oral tablet, it's most efficient to click on the specific product instead of the generic metformin. You'll be presented with common sentences for the medication. Click on one that's most applicable to the patient's history. Once this is done, you could continue adding your other medications. Lisinopril 20 milligram, corresponding sentence. Aspirin, if you presented with quite a few options and you want to narrow your search window, if you're looking for simply something that starts with aspirin, change your contains default to your starts with. This will provide you a more simplistic view of options to pick from. Advocor. Once you're done and completed with adding all your medications, go ahead and click Done and start filling in details. You'll notice the last medication added did not present us with a sentence detail. Thus, you must click in each field and you'll be presented with options. The ones indicated in the green circles are the most frequently prescribed options. Certainly, you could change what it defaults to by showing all and start typing in what the desired history frequency is. You also want to go to Order Comments, indicate any additional information or compliance when the patient last took their dose. Once done with the medication, simply click on the above medication for reviewing its detail as well. Again, you have the opportunity of changing any details here, as well as adding compliance. Moving along the list, here you'll see you could certainly change this from 1 tab to 2 tab. Adding compliance again. You could specify patient takes with breakfast and dinner, which allows the patient to continue the same regimen in the hospital. Once all details are filled out and you could view that details above, go ahead and click Document History. By Document History, you'll show here the status menu has been updated with a green check mark. Go ahead and refresh your screen and you'll also see the details within your medication list now. Now, if there is a need to update or modify any of the documented information, That could also be done by clicking on Document Med by History. For instance, if you find later from a family member that a patient is not taking 1 tablet but 2, you could right-click, modify, change the order detail as needed, and click Document History. That then updates your history from 1 tab to 2 tab. In the same fashion, you could update compliance. Add Modify Compliance, and if you found that the patient actually took this yesterday at 2100, you could document that as well. Lastly, if you find that a patient is no longer taking a medication that they were on previously, simply right-click, cancel DC, indicate patient no longer taking med, and document history. This will then remove the medication from the medication list. In addition, if a patient has a prescription that was prescribed from a previous encounter and they are no longer taking, that too must be removed from the medication list. This can be done by clicking on Documenting Meds by History and right-clicking on the prescription. You must first select Order Information to find out who the prescribing physician was. Note the prescribing physician, Train ED-MD1. Using this information, we will then right-click and cancel and DC the prescription with the same physician that had ordered the prescription initially. Clicking Standard of Care is appropriate for removing prescriptions from the Med History tab, and you could simply pick a reason that's appropriate for removing the prescription from the history. Note, this removes a prescription that the patient was no longer taking. That concludes our session on home medications, how to document medications by history. Thank you.